Hello and welcome to a maths video looking at some C1 indices exam questions. Part A here is asking me to write down the value of 125 to the power of 1/3. So 125 to the power of 1/3, I can just say that that is exactly the same as the cube root of 125. So the cube root of 125 is simply going to be 5. So that's part A done. Part B asks us to find the value of 125 to the negative 2/3. So the first thing to recognise here is that I have a negative power. If I have a negative power, I simply take the reciprocal of my value, and when I do that, it becomes a positive power. So it becomes 1 over 125 to the positive 2/3. Now I just need to evaluate 125 to the power of 2/3. So 125 to the power of 2/3, that becomes the cube root of 125, and that's squared. So my cube root is coming from the denominator here, the squared is coming from my numerator. Now we've already found out what the cube root of 125 was. We found that out in part A. So we can say that it's 1 over 5 squared. And so what I could say is that then that is 1 over 25. In A-level questions, it's quite a common feature for part A to then link into part B. So like we had here, we had the cube root, then we had to find the cube root of 125 again. That's quite a kind of common feature of A-level questions. So let's take a look at this second one. This one is slightly more advanced and slightly trickier, I would say. Part A is asking us to find the value of 16 to the power of negative 1/4. So what we could say, again to begin with, is that we have this negative, so we could say that it is 1 over 16 to the 1/4. So if we have that negative, it becomes the reciprocal of the positive power. So 1 over 16 to the 1/4. Now this we can say is exactly the same as 1 over 16 to the quartic root. Now 16 to the quartic root, what could be multiplied by itself, then by itself again, and by itself again to reach 16? That is simply going to be 2. So my answer there would be 1/2. Part B is the kind of more interesting part. Now what we have here is we have x outside the brackets, then inside the brackets we have 2x to the power of negative 1/4 raised to the power of 4. I'm going to deal with the brackets part first, and this being raised to the power of 4. So what this becomes 2 to the power of 4, and then we simply, when we see this x to the minus 1/4 raised to the power of 4, it's simply 4 multiplied by negative 1/4. So negative 1/4 multiplied by 4 gives me negative 1. So what I could say is that bit in the bracket, that part in the bracket, is 16x to the minus 1. So we've dealt with the part that's in the bracket, and I'm just going to put that in brackets now, because remember at the beginning we had x outside the brackets, then this bit here. Now all I need to do is expand this, so it's 16x to the minus 1 multiplied by x. Well, that is exactly the same as 16x to the power of 0, because x multiplied by x to the minus 1 is going to give me x to the power of 0, and so 16x to the power of 0 is exactly the same as just 16.